Welcome back, everybody. This week, I'm going to talk about something that not only pertains to podcasting, but really anyone that is running a business. This can also pertain to life, and that is outsourcing. Getting help with something that you're not an expert at. So way back in episode 39, I went through 6 questions that you can ask yourself in terms of why you should be outsourcing. And since episode 39, that was close to 2 years ago, I decided to outsource, and I've outsourced a lot. Why did I decide to do that? I'm a Enneagram 3 wing 4, which means partially I'm a control freak. I have to have control over everything. And so I would tend to try to learn everything, try to learn how to do all the things that I'm not an expert at. I'm an audio engineer. I'm a musician. So I would try to learn other things in marketing. I would try to learn graphic design, try to learn new tools. I would try to learn things like Canva and Kajabi and Asana and all these things that I was using to run my business and WordPress and building websites and things like that. And you know what? Days would just disappear. I would get into trying to schedule an email and create an automation in ConvertKit, and 3 hours would go by. I would go into my resources page on my website to try and update it and make it look better. And 2 days would pass and it still wouldn't look as good as if a web developer or a graphic designer had taken over it. I never got anywhere. And if you remember from that last episode, or if you've listened to it, often when starting a business, people are strapped for cash. So we have to do everything ourselves. But what I didn't realize is that if I outsource certain tasks or services, it might be something that I could do earlier than I thought I could. And in fact, it would end up saving me money, because neglecting to outsource can actually cost us dearly. And here are a few ways. Like me, you end up wasting many hours trying to do something where you don't have the skill, you don't have the training or the interest in doing it. You get second-rate quality when you're attempting to do things that you're not good at. You add stress to yourself unnecessarily. You take precious time away from doing things that you're actually good at or you might enjoy. And you're hindering your revenue. Like, you're preventing yourself from making money by focusing on things that aren't actually making money. And the list could go on and on and on. So what did I do? Well, I have those 6 questions from episode 39, but I started creating a list of things and that I was doing, and I put them in 3 categories. I thought about things that I could easily train someone else to do. So that might be writing copy or running the ins and outs of the day-to-day of my business, of getting episodes done and moving things through a workflow and systematizing. And then I also listed things that might need special training. So like audio editors. Way back when, 2-3 years ago, I was still doing most of the editing on all of the shows of all of our clients that were coming through. And I had friends, engineers that could also do that were knowledgeable. I had people that I was training to do the same thing that were knowledgeable and could do those things. So I started listing things in that category. And then I made a category of things that only I could do. Showing up on a podcast episode, speaking at a virtual conference, things like that. So things that I could easily train someone to do, things that needed special training, and then things that I had to do myself. Now, if you go back to episode 39, you'll hear the questions of, you could go further into that. Ask yourself the question, is the service that you're doing yourself, is that a core part of your business? Okay. So that would be like, for me, the question of, is this something I have to do? Like recording a podcast episode, things like that. Ask yourself if the service is making you money. Okay. Having professional looking material is important, okay? Because customers are buying your content, right? So you might want to hire a graphic designer to make your logo or your website, things look better than you could if you're not a graphic designer. You can also start to think about money. Can you ask someone else to perform a service less expensively than you do, or than your time that you're taking? Is performing the service stressful? We already talked about that. I was spending days working on my website and not getting anywhere. And that was a lot of stress because I was not working on things that were actually making money for the business at the time. And think about Is the thing you're doing, is it part of your wheelhouse? Is it your expertise? People who are experts at things like audio editors at editing a podcast, they can edit a half an hour podcast in about 40 minutes. Whereas if you're editing your own podcast episode, you might take 3 hours because you're obsessing over every little thing you said. And then number 6 of those questions was, do you enjoy doing what you're doing? So if the activity that you're doing, if you really like designing your social media posts and the graphics that go with them, well, that might be a reason to hang on to them. But if you don't, then that's definitely a reason to give them up. So what has been the outcome of me outsourcing? Well, over the last 2 to 3 years, I started out making sure that I got some qualified editors to work on my team, so that now of the 30 clients we have each week, I may edit 2 or 3 of those clients' shows. Now, what I do is listen to every episode that comes from an editor. So I'm checking it to make sure that it sounds amazing and sounds okay. In addition to that, I got some project managers because I was answering every email that came in every time a client would deliver their files each week. And that was a lot of emails to go through. That was a lot of files to transfer. That was really easy for me to train a project manager to get those files in the right place to the right people, create a task in Asana, and assign all those things to the people that needed to be assigned to. And then I also had a project manager that learned how to do all of the extra things that we were doing for the clients in terms of publishing it to their website, adding it to Libsyn, scheduling emails, scheduling social media posts, creating graphics from templates, all that sort of stuff. And then finally, I started to think about marketing. I invested in having a director of marketing who understood funnels and email marketing and digital marketing and all those things that I was spending way too much time on to promote my business. And then just very recently, in the last 6 months, I added a director of operations to our team who essentially knows everything about the business that I know and can run the business on a day-to-day basis so that I can get out of running the business and actually focus more on growing the business and creating new things for our clients to make their experience amazing. If you're interested in that type of more about having a director of operations, there's a great book out there called Rocket Fuel, where it envisions, this is the traditional roles of the CEO and the COO. The CEO is the one who's coming up with the ideas and steering the ship, whereas the COO is making everything happen. And in Rocket Fuel, they call this the visionary and the integrator. So we use the more traditional term of director of operations for my COO, my integrator, Megan, who really knows a lot about the day-to-day of Emerald City Productions now and can make sure that all the shows are going out on time and all the members of the team are doing what they have to do so that I can focus on things like this, recording podcast episodes to help everyone. And in general, the outcome has been less stress for me, less stress for the whole team, because there aren't mistakes happening. There aren't things getting missed because the bottleneck no longer goes through me. It's more spread out. And in general, an increase in revenue. I've been able to find more clients, new clients. I've been able to create content to get out in the world. I've been able to speak more. I've been able to do things that are more scalable for my business because I now have time to do it. So I hope this has been helpful for you. If you're stuck in this place where you're doing everything and you're frustrated and you're stressed, I really would encourage you to outsource sooner than you think you do. And just, if you take anything from this episode, sit down and make that list of three categories. What are things you're doing right now that you could easily train someone else to do? What are things that need a little bit extra special training? And then what are the things that you have to do? And then find the people, find the positions that can help you do that. I will be back with you next week. I actually have an interview that will cover outsourcing and someone from a virtual staffing agency that can help with some of these things. You'll hear this amazing interview. And yeah, I would really appreciate it if you have the time. If this episode helps you, I would really appreciate it if you go to Apple Podcasts or Google Podcasts or Spotify, wherever you listen, and rate and review. And then share this. If you have family members or friends or colleagues or other business owners that you think this episode would help, please share it with them, because that's the way I continue to grow this podcast. That's the way I continue to be able to help as many people as possible. So I will talk to you more next week. Have you ever wondered how other podcasters grow their audience? Well, one of the best ways to do this is by being a guest on other podcasts, borrowing their audiences. So that's why I created the Publicity Power Pack. It's a product designed to help you learn how to network with other podcasters and get invited onto their shows. There's really no better way to grow your audience. The Publicity Power Pack provides you with everything you need to network with other podcasters, be a better guest, send pitches that people actually respond to, and begin your journey towards becoming an in-demand guest. So what are you waiting for? Let me help you grow your podcast starting today. Get the Publicity Power Pack only for $27. You can go to DannyOsmond.com/PPP to get it today.